This is the largest oil processing plant in the world, Abqaiq. It is at the heart of Saudi Arabia's oil facilities, oil pumping system. And you can see in the tower up here just how badly impacted it was. I talked to one of the engineers here. He says they're still in the assessment phase. Right now, they're replacing pipelines here, steel heavy pipelines at the back. And I'm counting down here. I can see 1, 2, 3, at least another 4 towers that have been hit. In total, 18 drones flew in here and targeted this site. They came in from the northwest. Sun is setting here. The north is up here, and that direction of impact is another reason that Saudi officials believe Iran was behind this attack. They're telling us here that this facility will be back up and running, full speed, full production by the end of September. The government says they will be reaching their expected levels of 11 million barrels a day. This, they say, taken down that night of the attack, but they were back up to 30% capacity within 48 hours. Everyone we're talking to here at the production here is saying just how well they responded. But the reality of the situation is they're responding to this. They're putting it back together, but repairing international confidence that this isn't just the beginning of something else, rather that it is only a single incident. That is going to be much tougher. This will look maybe brand new in a few months. Saudi Arabia, however, has got a much bigger problem ahead of it, deciding its next move. Nick Robertson, CNN, Abqaiq, Saudi Arabia.
Joining me now is Antoine Huff. He is chief analyst at the data analytics company Kairos and former chief oil analyst for the International Energy Agency. And so good to have you here at the end of such a tumultuous week. Right. Antoine, where did we settle out at the end of this week? Because, of course, we saw that giant spike, and yet the price pulled back to something that is still, you know, in terms of, if you look at it, 7 months. Okay, right. Fine. If you look at the graph, it's not that. So where do you think we've settled out at the end of the week?
That's absolutely right. On the face of it, it's a big increase. 60 to 65, more or less, for Brent. But if you look at the scope of the disruption, it's a very small increase, and it's kind of a very subdued reaction from the market. You're talking about the largest oil processing plant in the world. You're talking about the country that accounts for 10% of exports, of consumption, really. So the risk is really significant. It's not really priced in the market. I think the market is really pricing in all the efforts made by Aramco to come back in there and restore exports. It's not really pricing in the risk of escalation, the risk of further incidents, all the questions that the incident...
And the theater of risk could move to the Strait of Hormuz after this, right? I mean, there are lots of risks in terms of the transport of oil.
True. But the response from the kingdom has been very remarkable from the company. So we're actually monitoring the reaction on the ground. We're tracking with satellites what's going on. And there's been an initial period of damage assessment and precautionary shutdowns. But we've seen the flares at the various fields and then production come back, and we've seen the trucks start moving in near the damaged facilities. And the company has been really good at trying to keep exports going, partly by importing products, partly by rejigging its own consumption to free up barrels for exports. But what that means is that the customers might be getting some supply, but in terms of the global supply in the world market, those barrels are being pulled from somewhere. So at least for now, the whole pool of supplies has tightened.
I'm going to get back to that issue that you said it's not pricing in the risk. I want to deal first with the fact that Xi Jinping finally had a call in Saudi Arabia. And, you know, they agreed that this was an attack, a troubling attack, wanted a fair investigation and full investigation. How much do you think China will actually be concerned by what happened here, clearly being so dependent on the imports from Saudi Arabia and elsewhere?
China is extremely concerned. Even before the attacks, they were concerned about being over-dependent on imports. It's always a recurring concern for them to be import-dependent or overly dependent on outside sources. So this is a debate that's been going on in Beijing for a while. There's no doubt that the recent events will exacerbate the demands from the leadership for more domestic production of oil and gas.